I deal with the person, not the problem. What are the problems that are being caused by that issue? So the frustration, the anger, and all of the trauma that's not been dealt with. Heal that part first, and the other part will have a knock-on effect.
Please note, the content of this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. This episode comes with a content warning and a trigger warning. This episode contains the depiction of a traumatic event that may be distressing to some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. This episode also contains discussions that may be upsetting or triggering. Topics include trauma, mental health challenges, and the use of substances. If these topics may be distressing for you, please prioritise your health and well-being and consider whether proceeding is the right choice for you. Thank you very much. This episode also contains explicit language.
Mr. Karl Smith, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. Based on our pre-chat, this is going to be a wild conversation. I do know that.
Very well. There is adult supervision. Some people may need earmuffs and other people may get upset or they will learn something, but I may change points of view.
That's what you do.
That's what I do.
So you had a very intense and unexpected introduction into hypnosis that involved a car accident. Can you please tell us about that?
So to give you a bit of a basis, I did 12 years in the British Army. I went to all the places that your holiday representative definitely will not send you to. And then what I did then is...
wait, I'm going to stop you there. How did you behave in the army?
Fucking, that's a different story. That's
Okay.
X-rated, that one.
Okay.
But no, I did the 12 years. I went to all the places that you could probably imagine. I've seen the best and the worst of humanity in that time. I then got out of the army and this is really important, I got out of the army on a Friday and joined the police and a national police force on Sunday. And it had been planned, but actually what it did do is it had a knock-on effect later on. And the reason I tell you that is because of the way that I work with post-trauma is that I never gave my body time to resolve anything that I'd seen or done. I went from war zone. I was in Iraq on the Tuesday, and in the following Tuesday, I was in court doing an attestation, being a police officer, acting like nothing had happened. So, there was no decompression for me. So I joined 12 years in the army and then went into the police, did 12 years. But on August the 4th, 2006, I'd just been on the Rangers. I was a SWAT officer or a firearms officer for those people in England, but for around the world, SWAT officer, tactical firearms, all of that. I'd just finished on the Rangers, so shooting guns all day and doing all bits and bobs. And I went home, and unfortunately, a guy who had decided to drink a copious amount of alcohol and take an enormous amount of drugs at his auntie's funeral decided to park his car in the front of our house, just as I'd gone through the door. So I was met with a car in the front of the house. I run round, I try to get him out, and I say it on every podcast for some strange reason. I do not know why. And don't forget, we drive on the right side of the road, the right side. So not the right side, but we drive correctly. We're on the right side of the road. When I tell this story, someone said, there's a hole in his story. He did it with his left hand. I got the seatbelt on the driver's side and wrapped it around my hand and then tried to get him out of the car. But what happened then is I knocked the car off of the brick wall that it was sitting on, and it dragged me underneath the car. Oh. During it, I broke my legs, my arms, my scapula on that side, my clavicle on this side, fractured cheekbone, fractured skull, a couple of other bits and bobs as well, broken fingers, all that type of stuff, cuts, grazes, bruises, and all that type.
Oh my God.
He reversed over and then drove over me and left me for dead, and then drove off.
Without any consciousness that you just saved his life?
No. He was drunk. He was absolute DUI. He was drunk. He didn't care.
Nothing.
So no, I didn't save him. I was prepared to uphold the law and protect myself. He was a drunk driver. Basically, he'd smashed into the front of our house. I tried getting him out. He panicked, drove off. And the long story short is that he left me with terrible injuries. He drove off from the scene. They later found him. But what happened was that the police force at the time offered me cognitive behavioural therapy, or commonly known as cognitive behavioural torture,
Wait, hang on, hold up. You're too funny. Commonly known according to who?
To everyone who's ever been through it. And I'll come back to that in a moment. And look, for those people that are CBT trained, let me just stay with me for a moment and let me just, because there is great CBT people out there and there are great counsellors out there. It's just not for everybody. Police forces and emergency services personnel are always being force-fed with counselling and CBT when it's not their modality. When I was given it, they gave me CBT. It didn't work. It wasn't the person delivering it, and it wasn't necessarily the process. It just wasn't right for me at that moment in time. It wasn't the right thing. But the only thing I was offered was psychotherapy and cognitive behavioral therapy, which both fall in line. But they had a CBTer and a counsellor doing work with me. But the counsellor, we didn't get off straight away because I didn't quite believe in psychotherapy. And I still don't, to be brutally honest, in some aspects of it. But the point being is that the way that they started off my conversation was, how did it feel to be run over? That was the first question. Well, you can imagine I sat there and went, what the fuck do you mean? What does it mean to feel like to be run over? It's fucking painful, excruciating, horrendous, torturous. What else do you want me to say? Oh, you're full of anger. And I realised then I wasn't full of anger because of the car accident. I was full of anger because of their incompetence. And I think that that's where this little scar in me stays. It's just that initial contact that really did it. So psychotherapy, there are great psychotherapists out there, don't get me wrong, and psychotherapy has a time and a place. My point being about this is that CBT and counselling were given to me and they weren't right for me. And then I became dependent on a drug called tramadol, a really powerful painkiller, and Jack Daniels. And Jack Daniels and tramadol became very good friends. And then we all started going out partying and all that type of stuff. So, drugs and alcohol were just part of my life, waking up in the morning and just trying to get as shit-faced as I could on tramadol to try and stop any naughty noises that were going on. Because the CBT and the counselling weren't working, what happened is I reverted to using tramadol, which completely numbs your body, to get through the day, to stop the naughty noises, to stop the pain, to stop the anguish, to stop the trauma, to stop some people call them flashbacks. I don't agree with that word flashback. Those antagonistic moments that were flashing back, coming back into my life. Some of the stuff I'd seen in the military, some of the things that had gone on, they were popping up. They were like literally just firing up. And I was taking tramadol and alcohol to do that. And it was noted by a police officer that came round one day that I was in a bad way. I'd gone from happy go lucky Karl and fuck you and yeah, let's go to literally just sitting on a couch watching the TV. And people were coming in, I didn't even recognise them. They were friends of mine. I didn't even, like sit down, go make yourself a cup of tea and sit there watching daytime shite TV. And somebody came round one day and just said, look, I'm a hypnotist. And I went, shut the fuck up. I'm fucking doing that shit. And he just said to me, look, he says, I'm a serving officer and I'm a hypnotist. And I'm from a seaside holiday resort.
Wow.
So this is where I'm very keen on people educating. I'm from a holiday place in the UK called Great Yarmouth. And I always remember when I was about 12, 13, 14, working like a little dolly, selling ice cream. It was a daytime job. I used to go around ushering in theatres and stuff like that, selling ice creams and putting people in their chairs, and telling people to stop snogging on the back row and all that type of stuff. Anyway. So when I first did that, I was on stage with a guy called Ken Webster, who still is a stage hypnotist today. But my first recollection of hypnosis was that. My first point of reference was Ken's show. So I'm like, I'm not doing that hypnosis shit. I'm not doing that. I'm not fucking quacking like a duck and all that crap. And it's all bullshit. I've seen it. It's all staged. They do it all night. They do this. They do that. And what this guy did is he educated me. He educated me. And if there's one thing, it doesn't matter what you do, if you're a psychotherapist, a CBT, a spiritual, an energy healer, whatever you are, it's about education, about people understanding what you do and how you do it. And that's vitally important. Whoever you are, whatever you're doing in this, if you have the best product in the world, but if you don't tell anyone or educate anyone on it, you're pretty fucking bored. You don't have any clients. So my point being is that Ben educated me and he did something that day that still to this day rings in my head. I had this full body experience of like all of this trauma. And it had nothing to do with the car accident. A lot of people sit there and go, well, that car accident, of course, it wasn't the car accident. It was not the car accident. The car accident was actually the catalyst for my body having a breakdown. It wasn't the breakdown. It was the catalyst to start. I'm shutting down. I'm not doing any more for you until you sort this shit out. And that's when we started to realize that everything that had built up over the past, from me serving and seeing some of the worst atrocities that any human can go be in and anything like that, seeing some of the worst things that I've ever done, being involved in some of it, really caught up with me. And it was the car accident, flipped the switch. It was like that was literally the catalyst. Because before that, I'd been managing it quite well. It was that car accident that flipped it over the edge. So then what happened that day is Ben started this whole movement, this trigger since 2006. I think it was about August 2006, the accident. I think by about November, December, I'd bought an EFT course, Emotional Freedom Techniques, Gary Craig's tappity, tappity, tappity. And I'd bought that. And that was when my process of self-healing kicked in, and even though Ben and a couple of people had been supporting me, it was roughly around that December I realized, shit, something's gone on. I need to dig a little hole. So I went and found Emotional Freedom Techniques, which was one technique that he taught me after hypnosis. Then that went on to something else, and then it went on to something else, and then it went on to something else. And then all of a sudden I started going down the rabbit hole even further. And then all of a sudden I got lost down the rabbit hole, and I don't even know where the rabbit hole is now. I don't even
You're so deep in it, you don't know the difference between the rabbit hole and other rabbit holes.
be in a Badger set now. I don't know, but on the same token, I don't know. But the point being is that it was the catalyst. So what I do say to people, if you are having a rough time or you know somebody who's having a rough time, to give people an idea of what I do now. I mean, I've taught all over the world. I've taught in Australia, I've taught in the Far East, I've taught in Africa, I've taught in Europe, taught in America, taught in Canada. I've taught all over the world. And I don't mean like some people say, oh, yes, I've done a Zoom call in San Diego. No, I've actually been there and taught, So I've been able to teach around the world. And I've taught with Mike Mandel, David Schneider, all of these people. I've been on the stage with them, Hans Rudy, all of those type of people. And been on the international circuit, and I've spoken at some of the biggest conferences in the hypnosis community and in health. Where I'm getting to with this is the worst day of my life became the best day of my life. If that little shit hadn't have run me over that day, I don't think I would be here now. I would probably be doing something within this arena, but not necessarily where I am. Might well have done, some people out there might be saying the stars aligned or blah, blah, blah. But on the same token, yeah, if that kid hadn't run me over that day, I probably wouldn't be here now. After my car accident, I healed and then started going on this journey and started going on courses and started to learn more about this subject and started becoming a little bit more proficient, hung around with some really quality presenters that taught me some amazing stuff. And then I did something that was unique, and that was I looked at things from a different perspective and thought, well, that's bullshit, that's rubbish, and that's bullshit. That's bullshit.
Official assessment.
Yeah, and I did. I'm a qualified adult teacher as well. I've done all my teaching qualifications and all that lot. And I mean, like, to a high level, not doctorate level, but I've done it, to a very, very high standard. And you're able to sift through the bullshit, and you're able to sift through bullshit that's being posted just for financial reasons, not for educational purposes. I love educating people. Like that little bit just there about education. I hope somebody goes away and does that. Thinks about how they're going to educate their masses. And that's really key. Whereas some of it's just waffle and bullshit.
Yeah.
Just fill a bank balance.
How did hypnosis help you heal physically and mentally?
So physically, I think that just being in a better headspace, I was able to be less frustrated, less stressed. So my body healed a lot quicker because of the lack of the stress that my body was under emotionally. So most emotionally, fixing that first then had a knock-on effect for the physical body to heal, because I wasn't constantly in this fight, flight, freeze mode. I wasn't always fighting things. I was fucking horrendous to my family. I was horrendous, but it wasn't me. We have to remember that what I'm saying now is that, yes, I was fucking horrible. I never hit anyone. I never did anything like that, but I was really nasty. But it wasn't me. It was the frustration. It was the anger. It was the things that couldn't come out. It was those things. And I was taking it out on my nearest and dearest, and it was very short fuse. That's where I was. That's where I was going with it. But as soon as that bit stopped and all of the noise was stopped, and I wasn't under constant threat. There wasn't a car bomb going off. I wasn't going to get shot at. I wasn't going to get run over, because that's what you think when you're sitting in the front room. The next thing is the front wall coming in again. When you think about it, you're in your house, your castle, and somebody comes in and runs you over in your house. That's your safe place. And if you can't be safe in your safe place, that's what really had a massive adverse effect with me. So once I'd got over that bit, the emotional side of it, and not, wanting to just poke people in the eyes every time they said something to me. Once I got over that, then I started to heal a lot quicker. Hypnosis itself, I know you wanted to breach onto this with the content-free, was vitally important. I'll explain about content-free hypnosis as I go along. When I first was introduced to hypnosis by Ben, he used a simple thing, a very Ericksonian way. The client knows how to resolve all of their issues, right? And the way that Ben did it was very, very much ambiguous. Start a process, shut the fuck up. What most therapists don't realize is that they impede the therapy. The therapists are always fucking talking. Now, I'm like Donkey out of Shrek, right? I'm like Donkey out of Shrek, right? The problem isn't talking. The problem's shutting me the fuck up. But the point being is that most therapists do impede therapy by talking all the time. All they're doing is talking, and not allowing the client to resolve and do what they need to do. So the way that I work is very, very ambiguous. I get paid for not talking. Believe it or not, I get paid in my career for not talking. I'm trying to cram an
I am
enormous...
sorry, but I can never imagine you not talking.
If I'm educating or showing people things, I'm trying to get as much information as I can in so people can enjoy it and go away and do it. But when I'm actually in a therapeutic environment, the first 5 minutes are frantic. Then nothing happens, because all hypnosis is about belief and expectation. Does the client believe, and do they expect something to happen? That is all hypnosis is: belief and expectations. Anything else is just mere sales. And I can guarantee that because some of the late greats of our profession who have passed on, that was their same philosophy as well. Everything else is just waffle. So belief, expectation, and after that, just a little bit of focus just to keep them with us. But on the same token, content-free hypnosis allows the client to bring up what they need to do. This is going to shock the living shit out of some of you. The only consultation I do is my clients, have they got schizophrenia, bipolar, personality disorders, narcolepsy, or anything that could be a red flag, a severe red flag. And the only reason I ask those questions there, and that is the only thing I ask, because after that, I am dealing with the person. You will always see in many groups, I've got a person coming over with anxiety next week. What technique should I use? You're not dealing with the person. You're dealing with the phobia, the fear, the phobia. And my job is to deal with the person. Don't deal with the problem. Deal with the person first. If you deal with the person, then guess what? It'll happen far quicker. Because when somebody comes in, and it's not me that says this, I am not the one who coined the term. It's very, very old, and it's a medical term. The issue is never the issue. When a client turns up and says, I've got anxiety, anxiety is not the problem. Unless they've been hit by a car and they've got a broken leg, right? And it specifically looks like a broken leg and you can do pain management on it. The issue is not the issue. How many times have your viewers ever gone to a doctor before and gone, God, I've got a bad back? And they go, yeah, it's your calf muscle. You know, you've got a tight calf muscle, because what happens is your calf muscles will tighten up, which then tighten your hamstrings up, which then pull your back down. So it's not your back that's the problem. That's the point where it's showing. It's the calf muscle that's the problem. The reason I say that is because that's identical to what happened to me, is that my Achilles was snapped off. And when they did it, it was 5 mil too short. So what happened is my calf muscle started to come down a little bit more, causing me backaches, causing me to bend over, causing me to have shoulder aches. And it wasn't until a chiropractor went, it's got nothing to do with your back, mate. It's your Achilles. He said, what happened to your Achilles? And I went like that. He went snap, snap, crack, bang. Next couple of weeks, I was standing upright. It had nothing to do with the top of my neck. It had nothing to do with my lower back. It was my Achilles tendon. So when you're looking at this, and when a client walks in the door, when they tell you it's their lower back, it's probably going to be the Achilles tendon. So that's what I mean by that, is that when a client comes in, they don't know, they're feeding you bullshit. So the best way to do it is allow the client to go into their hypnosis, allow that client to move into their world, into their way of working, and then unleash it. And that's the best way of doing it. Hypnosis is about hands-on, practical, intuitive, you know, just being a fucking nice human to somebody. And that's where it is. Because there's a lot of shit out there, and there's a lot of shit being punted out.
So you mentioned content-free hypnosis. Can you explain what that is for anyone who doesn't know?
So putting the client into their space and allowing them their space just to go. Yeah. Just allow them to do what they need to. So the
which means that the client doesn't actually have to tell the hypnotist what's going on or what they've seen. There's no need for the exchange or for them to share unless they want to.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is exactly what it is. My job is to put the person into their hypnosis. I then invite them with a technique that's on my YouTube channel called the fights technique or emotional detox. And what we do then is we allow them to let go of any negative feelings, images, thoughts, emotions, or sensations they've held on to over the past few weeks, past few months, past few years. With that ambiguity of feelings, images, thoughts, emotions, and sensations being released that have held you back over the past few months, past few weeks, past few years, doesn't matter what order it is. So we allow that subconscious, the unconscious, that monkey brain, whatever it is this week, to allow it to let the pressure, the tension, the hurt, the pain, the guilt, the shame, however it chooses to do it its way. And that is content-free hypnosis. There is no consultation. If somebody wants to have a cathartic release, I'll let them do it. But to be brutally honest, in the way that I work, it has no bearing whatsoever. So let them have a cathartic release. Let them talk about what they think it is. And then I start my process. And then when I start my process, then it's all about loading them up, pulling the trigger and letting them get on with it and just sitting there and observing. Genuinely, I spend an enormous amount of my time just sitting there observing. Anyone watches my YouTube channel, I'm sitting there like this going, got to do stuff. But I'm still watching the client. I'm giving the client their space because a lot of therapists want to be involved. They want to feel the pain. They want to be in, when actually being disassociated is absolutely the best way of doing it.
I've seen on your website that you offer a whole lot of different areas of focus with one session.
Yeah.
Which not a lot of people do. So what is that confidence or belief?
Because a lot of people deal with the problem, not the person. I deal with the person, not the problem. I predominantly do trauma, anxieties and stuff like that. Every single session is the same way. Every single session. Doesn't matter what it is. I always deal with the person first. Doesn't matter whether it's weight loss, trauma, amputations, anything like that. I deal with the person first. If you watch my YouTube channel, you'll see a couple of trauma videos where I work with a phantom limb pain. I don't work with the phantom limb pain initially. I work with the person. What are the problems that are being caused by that issue? So the frustration, the anger, and all of the trauma that's not been dealt with goes back to what I said about me. Heal that part first, and the other part will have a knock-on effect. This is the level that we're at. We're having to teach people, stop working with the problem that's presented, deal with the person that's presented. If you deal with the person first, then you will resolve the problem. You will have a knock-on effect. And a lot of people just don't do that. They get I've got an anxiety client next week. I've got somebody coming in with post-trauma next week. Who gives a shit? What is the person telling you, not what the problem's telling you? And then you're going to get it that way. And that is why I get better results than I've ever done in my life with that technique. And that technique that I designed. And the way you see me talk to people on my videos is the same way as that I would talk to them any other fucking way. You'll notice that the video I'll send you with the soldier in it, with the severe trauma, we've never met each other, but off the bat we start having a laugh and a joke and swearing and doing all that. And to some people, if they're still listening to me by now, some people sit there and go like that. I think it's so unprofessional that he swears. That's good. Unprofessional for your clients. But my clients who come to see me are fed up with watching therapists play act. I am me. I'm the same person day in and day fucking out. And that is it. I offer in my niching, wherever you are in the world, I swear.
Yeah.
And you know what? That is what gets me clients. That is what fills my books up. And that's what earns me money, because I am not scared. I will tell people to fuck off all day long or pull their fucking finger out of their asses. And I do it all day long. My background has not left me of 24 years, but that drive, that whole getting people to work is fundamental in the change work.
Yeah.
My clients want that. They want that. My students love that direct approach. Some people will despise it. That's fine. We can still drink a beer at the bar. We can have a little drink, and talk shit at the bar. It just doesn't mean that you're my client. That's fine.
In your experience, what's the hardest part of change?
Threshold. Threshold is the most important part. Most clients that come to you do not want change.
And also for the client, what's the hardest part of change?
Threshold. Yeah, they may not want it. So when you mean change, do you mean the change as in within the session, what they're doing, how they're doing things?
Yeah, like the desire that they have has to be strong enough to be able to not just go, okay, I know this is good for me, but am I actually going to follow through it on my end?
So to put it into perspective, I will get people that watch me on YouTube that go, oh, that's that Karl. He's the one on YouTube. He's always fixing people. But when they come to me, they pay. They don't actually pay for me to fix them. They pay for me to continue their bad habits because they haven't met threshold. They don't actually want change. Some of your clients that turn up don't really want change, and you have to find out if they were at threshold. Are they at that tipping point? Are they at that moment in time in life that they really want this? And some of your clients don't want it. Some of your clients will come to fail so they can go home, tell their loved ones, oh, I've been to the therapist. I went to that guy that was on YouTube. I've done all of this, but it's still so bad. I can still smoke these cigarettes. You know, that guy that you showed me on YouTube that does it in about 5-6 minutes? Yeah, didn't really want to do it. No, it didn't work for me. They want to do it because they're not at threshold, because therapists are not finding out. Sacking clients was one of the most... sacking clients was one of the most empowering things that I've ever done and learned as a therapist. Because
so even now, if someone books online, do you have a pre-chat? And if they're not at threshold, you say, see you later?
Yeah.
Okay.
The automated service will go through and they hit a couple of things. Then we have a conversation. And within the first 30 seconds, I can tell you if they're at threshold. I can tell you if they're in threshold within 30 seconds. That's years of experience. But there is something I teach as well, which I will show you now, and it's something for you to do. And it's something that you do in a police interview. You'll be talking away. We'll be talking about this. We'll be talking about, content-free hypnosis and about how content-free. And then I'll be talking about something else, and I'll just go, do you really want to change? That complete flip, that complete Jekyll and Hyde. Sorry. Literally like that flip. So we'll be talking away. Do you really want to make changes?
Because you're catching them off guard, so they've got to come out. Yeah.
In 3 seconds, the 3-second rule applies. They're either going to go yes immediately. Secondly, they're going to go no. Or thirdly, they're going to go, if they do yes, fine, crack on. If they do no, stop. If they go, you need to do some more work. You need to find out why. You need to find out their why for being there. What is the real reason? Why did you say, if you really wanted this, you'd have said yes. What is holding you up? What is stopping you? What is the purpose of you being here? And then digging around on that. If somebody says yes straight away, bang, I'm off. I don't give it. I'm gone. I don't even wait. I didn't even wait a heartbeat. I'm literally gone. If they go, I have to stop and pause and figure out why. And I've got no qualms in refunding their money.
Yeah.
Because I would rather sack them there and then and not charge them a penny. I'd rather refund them than sit there and go through a whole hour of knowing that I'm wasting my life and their time and their money and looking for a bad review.
Yeah, okay. Let's wrap up with a little game of rapid fire comebacks to some hypnosis myths and barriers. Okay, I'm scared that you're going to hypnotize me and I'm going to get stuck.
No, because my job is not to hypnotize you, it's to dehypnotize you.
Oh, snap. 1 to Karl, none to Jordana. I'm scared I'm going to lose control in hypnosis.
The hypnotist is never in control. It's always that you in control. And the way that I work nowadays, especially with open eyes, when I'm working open eyed, people can see where I am and what I'm doing. So yeah, you can't do that. Yeah, you're going to get the stage hypnosis people. So to bolt onto that, I've seen people that go on stage and make an ass of themselves. They'd make an ass of themselves if you gave them 2 margaritas.
Which leads us into, I'm scared in hypnosis I'm going to start walking like a chicken.
That comes down to education. What did I say at the very beginning? It's about education. If you want to do it, you can do it, and I will let you do it. That's the way I get around it. But apart from that, no, you're doing it.
You can't hypnotize me because only gullible people can be hypnotized.
Right, that's threshold. That's down to threshold. The person does not want to be hypnotized. That's a threshold thing. You can't hypnotize me when I don't fucking want to. Years ago, I'd have gone with my ego, I'd have gone, I can. Now I just go, oh, fucking fine, piss off then.
If I go into trance, you're going to make me reveal my deepest, darkest secrets.
That's funny, actually, because I work predominantly with military and emergency services personnel. There was a 1948 Act in England which precludes me from working with people because they feared that I might be able to draw information from them. No, with the way that I work, especially content free, you don't even tell me what's going on and you won't do it. This isn't like, going back to those dark days in the CIA. Most of the clients who come to me, I don't even know what they've done.
Okay. And lastly, I'm scared if you hypnotize me, you'll wipe my memory, I'll have amnesia, and it's all over.
No. And even if you did forget something, that's a very important point. Even if you did forget something, it will come back. Yeah. Don't forget, as hypnotists, we do not erase memories. What we do is change perceptions.
Awesome.
So you'll only perceive that you've lost your memory for a very short time. Same as trauma. We only change the perception. We don't remove the trauma. We change the perception. Instead of going, we go, oh, that's what we do. All we do is change perceptions. That's what we do.
So that's the key to the trauma work that you do?
All you do is change the perceptions. You're not getting rid of it. You never, ever delete a memory. You never do it. So all you're doing is changing it from going, same as a spider. When somebody goes, oh, it's a spider. Doesn't matter what technique it is. You're not getting rid of the spider. What you're doing is changing the way they react to the spider.
Yeah.
And you're just retraining. That's all you're doing. Building it up, building it up, building it up. That's what we're doing. We only deal with perceptions. We don't deal with erasures.
Thank you, Karl, for being an outstanding guest that has unquestionably maxed out the number of F-bombs in one individual episode. I'm going to play an applause now.
Thank you very much. It's been great fun.
Thank you so much, Karl.
You're very welcome. Take care.